And speaking of flying around, Kenneth Murray, linebacker, Oklahoma, a guy that a lot of people have in that first 1-2 rounds of the NFL draft, someone that people are really high on. So we're going to get into kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly of Kenneth Murray. Let's start off the top. Give me your initial thoughts on this guy.
Well, he's an intriguing player, and you know how much I like this kid. We talked about him quite a bit in the studio. He's a seek and destroy linebacker, one of those guys that plays with passion and purpose, and you can see the athlete in his play. And I think for having him work with Coach Grinch, who's able to work on the technical components of his game, he's really elevated his stock. When I was in Indy for the combine, there were a lot of scouts that were foaming at the mouth to get a chance to get up close and talk to this kid. He really has the arrow pointed up, and everybody's very interested to see how he translates to the next level.
Yeah, it's all about consistency, which we're going to get into a little bit later. I'm looking at this, and honestly, like when I look at him, I see a guy that went from, yes, he was a tackling machine in 2018 season, but then he became a guy that was a tackling going downhill machine in 2019. And to me, those are two completely different things as linebackers. And I want a guy that's going to be attacking going towards the line of scrimmage, which is what he started to grow into in this 2019 season, as you mentioned, with Alex Grinch.
Well, and also remember, Felder, that the way they used him in the past, he was more playing sort of on the outside. And so a lot of those tackles were a function of coming in at the side. Now you move him towards the middle, and now he's able to come downhill and play with physicality and force. And I think that's what people will be excited to see on this tape.
Well, you mentioned the tape, C-Mark, so let's get into it right now. Let's look at this tape because this guy, I know you like to call him a dog. He's got a lot of dog in him.
He's K9, and you can't be nicknamed K9 unless you do have dog to you, but you better have a lot of bite to your game. We'll get a chance to see if he does.
Yeah, look at here, coming downhill. And this is the thing I like about him. We talked about him running that 4.52. Like, we know he ran that 4.52 at the combine, but this is football speed in action. This is reactionary speed to what he sees. He recognizes, okay, they're going to pull this guy. They're trying to wash me down with this wing. So I got to react quick. Otherwise, I'm going to be out of this play. And I love that he's able to do that. And that's because of that speed that he brings to the table.
It's the speed, but it's also the anticipation, Michael. This is a guy that sort of feels this open up. You can tell that he's studied up. He's a student of the game. He knows what's coming because he shoots this gap so quickly, he's able to beat the block. And I think that's where you see the athlete coming down. That's where you see that linear speed. You reference his 40 time, and I love the love tap at the end just to let Brewer know, hey, I'm coming. I'm going to be at you all day long.
Yeah, I love it. And you get to see it really good here from that rear view. And when you look at it, they're going to pull 61, the guard from the left side. This play is coming at him. And he recognizes if I can beat this wing, if I can beat this tight end, I can make an impact on this play. And he does it.
And I think also you have to trust your eyes. So all the young people at home watching this, trust your eyes, go trigger, believe what you see. That was a great example.
Well, I love that you mentioned trust your eyes because on this play, this is all eyes. This play is made with his eyes. This play is made out of vision, his ability to recognize, okay, he's got high hat. He sees high hat. Then he recognizes the three interior guys leaking out. And now I need to go kill this play. And he does it.
Yeah, that's a great point. And then he's also just able to play in space. The one wart on his game in the past is that everybody knew he was a good run defender. But can he play in space? Can he have those coverage instincts and anticipation? And you can see it here. You get the motion away. He doesn't get fooled by the eye candy. He sniffs out the screen, and then he's able to close ground. He's like he's shot out of a cannon, make the open field tackle, and get the back on the ground.
Yeah, and closing ground is what it's all about. I want folks to pay attention to the right side of their screen. Watch him slip out of that break. But this is a 500-yard rushing quarterback. Look at how quickly he squeezes, takes the air out of that, takes the air out, and 2nd and 15 now turns into 3rd and long, and they're ready to get off the field.
And also, it shows you, we talk about an athlete, and in today's game, remember, let's go big picture here. Talk about the NFL, the next level. When you're spreading you out, you're getting a lot of 3, 4, 5 wide receivers on the field. You have to be able to do this. And so this is where this kid's making himself some money to be able to close that type of space, that type of area. That's what you want to see. Where's the athlete? Well, he's a guy that has a track background. He's the one that can squeeze in on a play and on a scramble. And I think that's where he's really elevated his game to the next level, which is why he will fly off the draft boards come April 23rd.
We're going to look at some of the bad now, C-Mart. When you look at him play, and I think this goes for over the length of his career when he was at Oklahoma, he was a guy that wasn't always as physical. We saw the bench reps, right? We know he's got some strength, but I want to see him be a little bit more physical. I want to see him make smart plays, not get misdirected. So let's take a look at some of this film, see what he has to improve on to go from being a high draft pick to an all-pro type player.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the smarts and intelligence because I think the one thing that scouts worry about with K9 is his ability to be instinctive. And sometimes he gets himself misaligned, gets out of place, and he's a little late to the party getting there. And I think, that goes back to the eyes. Sometimes he gets bad eyes, it gets him out of place, and that's something that you got to look at closely.
Yeah, you see it here. He doesn't squeeze that down, which opens up the run lane for the quarterback, which puts them into second and short, which is a great position to be in. Here, we're going to watch him go out and go out. We're going to watch another play out of K9 where we're going to see him ride it down too far inside. And if you've got that quarterback, you got to make sure you're wide enough for that quarterback. But he rides it down too far inside, lets that running back take him too far to where he's out of position.
And then Michael, also the instincts, right? You got a defensive end that's crashing down inside. He's playing right in front of you. So you know that you are going to be the guy that has to stay at home. This is what you worry about. Why in the world? What are you seeing to jump inside like that when you have a DN that's already there? You're basically following on the same plane. That's why he was late getting out on the perimeter to make the tackle. And so that has come up time and time when you watch him. It's a function of bad eyes getting misaligned or taking himself out of the play. The good news for him, though, is that when you're a good player and you get in trouble, you know how to get out of trouble. And because of that athleticism, he's able to make up ground and make the plays. But just imagine if he can get that corrected. Now, again, that's going to be the job of a defensive coordinator at the next level. Clean that up. This is a kid with a hell of an upside.
So, C-Mart, we talked about some of the questionable things, some of the bad instincts, bad eyes, and then we get to some of the things that I've referenced off the top, or referenced going into the bad, the staying on blocks. And for me, when you look at Murray, where he is on the screen, and look at where this tight end is able to take him, to me, this is just something that can't happen to your linebacker.
That's exactly right. At times, he looks like a Velcro strip. I mean, he's stuck to the block. Now, that's a massive man, a tight end that's engaged on him, but he's got to be able to fight through this block. You don't see the effort. You don't see the urgency to come off the block. He's just getting pushed around, pushed out of the play. Now, keep in mind, back in the day, he was a little bit lighter. He gained some weight so he could be more stout and more forceful. He's got to find a way to combat this, come back through it so that he can be effective in the play. Otherwise, he'll simply just keep getting washed out.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing. He had a rough time with this tight end as we watched this TCU game. We saw the really good stuff out of this game where we saw the screen, but we also got to see this tight end kind of ride him all over the field here. He's got to feel this play coming back to him. Same like the Baylor play that we watched at the top of the show. He's got to feel this play coming back to him and recognize that I've got to make this play in the hole.
Yes, and then you take a look here at what happens again, and now he's lining up, so he's trying to get the feel here, understand where this play is going to go, and then he gets mashed down. I mean, this is another form of getting mushed, getting punked, if you would. You can't have that on your tape and say that you're a first-round talent guy. And I think that's ultimately going to be the conundrum for a lot of the coaches watching this tape, because being great's not a sometimes thing. This guy's got to be more consistent with his play, and that's what can be frustrating when you watch him.
Yeah, and then here we saw it's the same play that he got ridden down the field on. Here, the correction for him is I'm going to poke my head down inside. You poke your head down inside. Now you can't get off that block. Now you can't get over the top of this block. You can't get to that quarterback, and you've opened up another run lane that it's going to be impossible for either one of your safeties to fill.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, Michael, that you see when you watch this kid, and sometimes the great ones do this, is that you try to do everybody's job, right? I mean, you feel like you're athletic enough, you're Superman, you wear the cape, you can do everyone's job. But I can hear Bill Belichick saying right now, watching this film, look, just do your job. Don't worry about everybody else. Don't try to make the play for everybody else. Trust in your teammates. You do your job, lead by example, and allow those 10 other guys to go out there and do what they're supposed to do. They're on scholarship too. And so it's hard to find that as a heavy fault, but when you're trying to do so much and freelance on your own, that typically leads to some of the things that we saw on the bad tape with him, and that's getting misaligned. That's being a little late to the play. That's trying to run things down from behind. I think those are the things that this kid's got to clean up. Listen, he's got a tremendously high ceiling. He reminds me a lot of Levante David when he came out of Nebraska, albeit he's a little bigger, so he has a little more upside. But there are some things to his game that he's got to clean up. And if he does, you're talking about a potential Pro Bowl type of player.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching him and how he handles things, how he handles this draft process, this new draft process that we're watching, because he has an opportunity. People say that he's knocking on the door of the first round. I know you think he's a second rounder, but I'm looking forward to what NFL teams think about him. We'll find that out during the draft.